that's how you would go about entering the tickets. Again, I can do the user portal. If you opt to allow email, you can allow the emails to come in, or you can allow them to call you, and your technicians are going to be able to enter that on the fly. Now, if we look at this from an administrative perspective, there's a couple things that we can configure. I'm going to hit this administration tab, and we're going to go into this ITSM workspace. And what you'll see here kind of at the high level, my record definitions. So we were looking at incidents and the facilities requests that were coming in. But as you progress, you may have as well change requests that you provision here, problem requests that you provision here, incident surveys that we're going to send off to our end users once they've closed the tickets, etc. So this can get quite exhaustive. Or you can as well just create an additional workspace. So the workspaces can be separate, i.e. they kind of operate individually, or they can cross-reference so you can see both workspaces. Again, that's going to be dependent upon how you configure the sharing of the two workspaces. Here, I'm going to go into the incident. And what you'll notice here, so I'm kind of digging in one level, but here is where you'll start to see the forms. So you'll recall that my agent form, when I entered the incident request, had many fields for them to fill in, whereby my end user really only had to fill in the one. And as well, you'll see here the agent mobile. So by way of a quick example, I'm opening up the agent form or my technician form, and you can kind of see here on the left all the data points that I'm requiring them to fill in. If I wanted to modify this form, you'll notice here on the left there are fields that I can add by simple drag and drop and putting it over here on the right. So that's how easy it is to customize the forms. I'm going to go back one level. And this would throw me so I could then customize the form that my end users are going to see. So that's the customer web. Again, very easy to customize. You really have to kind of think about it probably from the end point, like what do you want to report against, and make sure that those values are apparent in your forms. Okay, business rules. So we were seeing the notifications pop up about alerting for email. So you'll get some business rules out of the box, but you also have the ability to create whatever type of rule that you want. So you'll notice here email notifications, email reminders, auto assignments, escalations. Again, you can pretty much configure Service Core to do whatever you want. You just have to understand what your options are and then go accordingly. So if we look at this email, we'll look at the email notification, and then we'll look at one that's changing the priority. So here I'm going to open up this particular business rule. Again, it happens to do with sending that email notification. So there's my name. It's just saying that it's active. My business rule type is the email notification versus, let's say, that auto assignment. I'm saying you can run it any time. My trigger is just entering into the incident itself. No conditions with respect to the criteria, but I do have one action that I'm doing. I'll hit the pin, and what it's showing is that I'm doing basically the email. So I'm sending an email to the addresses in that email address field. I'm using my service desk template, the one for the create versus the update. Again, you can decide what you want to appear in that email template, and then I'm sending it with an importance of normal. And that's essentially that business rule. I'm just hitting cancel at this point, so we end up back at my item incident. Again, and I'm going to look at one more business rule just so you can kind of contrast. And I'm going down to where I have my high priorities. The other thing that you may be noticing is the number of times it's executed. So this one, 8, whereby my notification here at the top has done 33 times, and the last one was today. Okay, so let's look at this high priority, because this one's going to be, again, a little bit different. So it's not that email notification. It's the business rule type of on-screen. And here I can see what my criteria is. So if on the form the impact is a single user, so there's only one person being impacted, and the urgency is a total work stoppage, then I'm turning that priority into high. Then I have an or if the impact is a single work group and that urgency is work impaired, that too would mean that I have a high priority status for this particular incident. So again, very granular what you can do, how you can change really the nature or the value of a given field based upon the other criteria that's listed in that particular form. Okay, so here we'll go back again to that incident item. We were looking at the business rules. The workflow processes was another aspect that we alluded to, and what you'll see here, a couple of things. So it's graphical in nature, but when an incident is being entered, I basically had 3 states that it could come in as. So when I start, I've got the request state, and you'll notice that this arrow points there. I've got another state that could be open, and then I have a third state, if you follow my cursor, that could go into resolved. And I only have really one rule set up. So if it's in request, over here on the left, you can see, and we saw this occur, I was sending an email to the contact when they requested a particular incident or a request. So if you wanted to set up additional business rules, which we've just looked at for any of these other states, then that's very easily done. So in other words, I could hit this open state and then just add a rule right from here. Okay, so it puts it kind of into a graphical format for you, and then you can add your rules and workflows and your different states accordingly. All right, I'll back up to the incident item. And the other thing that we'll look at before we open it up for questions is this quick templates. So you'll recall that for the incident, I had 4 that I could look at from the technician perspective. And that's because I'm assigning this network password reset template to only the agent web or only my technician form. The other 3 were exposed to my mobile devices, to my technician's form, the agent web, as well as my end user. So point there is you can get very granular with which templates you're going to enable for a particular item, and even further to which forms or users are going to be able to see that template. Okay? Okay, service analytics is the reporting, but I'm going to go into that when we look at the knowledge management section. So, Dick, I guess I'll ask you at this point, are there open questions on the incident management?
There are, and great job, Stacy. We've got a couple of questions here. Let me ask, I just want to start out, you kind of skipped over the workspace. You went there quickly. Could you pull that back up again just to kind of show what it looks like when you first sign in to FootPrints? Okay.
Or you mean from here or from the end user? Okay, perfect.
From there, and the end user, too, would be nice. Okay.
So so from an administrative perspective, you have these workspaces. I've only got the one, well, I've got 2, but we were looking at 1. But this workspace is where you would go in and start to configure. I'm going to go back to the, let me go back to that kind of main screen. So for the ITSM workspace, here's all the record definitions on the left, but really consider these as items. So I have incident items, I have facilities request items, change request items. So you can really put in here really any item that you want that's in play for a given workspace. It may be that you decide you don't want your facilities in the ITSM workspace. You're going to separate it. You can do that. It's just, again, one of those things that you have to think about ahead of time so that when you configure that workspace, it has the items in there that are pertinent. Okay? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, let's get to the questions, and if anybody wants to take a short break, we'll try to start right around 2:30 or so. It should be maybe a minute or 2 afterwards, and we'll move on to knowledge management. But the first question here is: are we able to modify font size, type, add color, etc., when sending automated emails?
You can, and so that gets into that email template, and then the colors are actually. We'll see this when I get in. Well, I guess I probably should have shown it for the incident side as well, but in the knowledge management or knowledge base, you'll see how that you can color code the fields, etc., on the form.
Okay. Next question, what version / hotfix are you running?
Good question. I believe this is 12.1 that we've got running on this particular server.
Okay. And you're running, this is a RightStar server that you have?
That's correct.
You're connecting to it. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. And another question here is, so based upon these business rules, can you have an asset automatically assigned to a specific integrated rule within Asset Core?
You can. So let's see. So he said he wants to associate a certain asset with a, what was the last part of that?
Yeah, a specific integrated rule within Asset Core.
Oh, got you. So right. So in other words, if I say something like deploy a specific piece of software that it can associate that asset, which is the software, and then deploy that down, you can. Yes, you can do that part.